the Extension Agriculture Institute, your connection to the latest agriculture and horticulture research from the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Hi, my name is Laura Flandermeyer. I'm the Pest Management Outreach Specialist in the Nutrient and Pest Management Program at the University of Wisconsin-Madison Division of Extension. And today we'll be walking through calibration on a per area basis. So here I have my backpack sprayer, and one of our first steps is going to be to fill it up with water. When we're doing calibration, we only need to use water. There's no need to put any pesticides into the tank at this time. For vegetable growers, it's really important that we're using a potable source of water that's fully clean of any potential contaminants. So here, I just have 3 gallons of distilled water. I'm going to unscrew the top of my tank here. And inside the tank is a slight filter at the top. That's just to prevent any contaminants from entering. So I'm going to slowly fill with water. So as you can see, the water's starting to come up. Awesome. And so here, this is pure water. There's a food dye added to it just so it's a little bit easier to see, but we're not using any chemicals at this time. So then we're going to go ahead and screw on the cap. This backpack sprayer uses a hand pump to build the pressure. So you want to make sure the cap is on tight, and it also prevents any water from splashing out while you're walking with the sprayer on your back. So now that we filled our sprayer, we want to pressurize it. Like I mentioned, it's this handle. So we need to push down, and you'll feel a slight bit of resistance build once it's pressurized. Then letting the water settle, we need to note the level that we've added once the sprayer has been pressurized. And here, my water level is right conveniently at the bottom rung of these little ribs on the side. So that's the level that I will note. That becomes important later on because we're practicing the replace method, which means we'll spray and then add water back into the sprayer to reach that level. Then we know the volume of water that we added back in, and that helps us determine how much spray we put out over that area. So our next step is to go ahead and put the sprayer on our back and check some of our nozzles. You can adjust the straps so it's comfortable for you to walk. So now we're set. Our hand pump is at our side. So we want to go ahead and keep that pressurized. And then we have a trigger. So when I push down that trigger, that's when our spray will actually come out through the hose. So at this point in time, once you've pressurized and added the liquid, you want to make sure that there's no leaks, either coming from the tank, out of the hose, or from the end of the nozzle when you're not spraying. Now that we have our backpack full of the mixture that we'll use for calibration, we need to test over a suitable test area. Here, we've used these 2 cones to mark out 25 feet, and then going the other way, we have 10 feet. So our area that we're testing is 250 square feet. This becomes useful later on when we need to calculate our gallons per 1,000 square feet, because 250 can be multiplied by 4 to easily get to 1,000 square feet. So next, I'm going to maintain a consistent walking speed and spray over this 250 square foot area. Then we'll check on the spray mix in the tank. So now that I've sprayed the area, there's some things that I'm paying attention to while I'm spraying. One of them is the pressure in the tank. So as the nozzle starts spraying less of that full coverage, I know that I need to increase the pressure, and I do so by pushing down on the hand pump. I was also paying attention to what was going on with the actual drips coming from the nozzle. So I want to make sure that my pattern is full and that there aren't any issues with the coverage throughout that. And now we see that things are drying, and it's important to watch how things dry to see if I over applied in certain areas, and that could indicate that there was poor coverage. So here we see the streaking. That might show that we had a little bit too much overlap on certain areas, and by testing this through calibration, we can adjust our walking speed and pattern to make sure we get the right coverage. Now that we sprayed our test area, we need to see how much liquid came out over that 250 square feet. So if you remember, we filled our tank to this bottom rib, and that was the level that we started with. I've measured out here 64 fluid ounces of water. I'm going to pour this water into the tank until I reach that top level again. Now that we've filled our tank to the appropriate level, we see how much liquid we needed to make the refill. So here, we started with 64 fluid ounces. We ended with 34 fluid ounces, which means we put 30 fluid ounces back into our tank. And that 30 fluid ounces is what we sprayed over the 250 square foot test area. If we're trying to get this to 1,000 square feet, we can multiply by 4. So then we have 120 fluid ounces that would be put out per 1,000 square feet. And if you need to further convert to gallons, you can divide 120 fluid ounces by 128 to get 0.95 gallons. And that 0.95 gallons is what you would put out over 1,000 square feet. Once you've determined the volume of spray that you need per area, which we determined to be 0.95 gallons per 1,000 square feet, you have to determine how much pesticide to add to your spray tank. And these calculations are based on the labeled rate that will be found on the pesticide label. So read closely to know how much product to add per gallon of water. If you need to make big adjustments in your calibration, you can change your walking speed to either walk faster or slower over your area while still maintaining coverage, or you can change out the nozzle to a different nozzle type that might have a larger or smaller opening. But when making these changes, be sure to comply with the label and make sure that that equipment can be used with the products that you choose.